Pigweed here. Today we review a Pilsner and discuss the best revolution ever. All right.
Hey, good evening, Pigweed.
Good evening, Crowhill.
What are we drinking? I ordered this Czech Pilsner here. It's sort of a Czech Pilsner.
Sort of a Czech Pilsner.
Sort of a Czech
All right,
Pilsner.
that sounds good.
All right,
That
so
sounds
what's
good.
on your mind?
So I was, getting ready to go to Mexico. We both are.
Yeah.
And I've got a book chosen for my reading, and
Yeah.
it is about the aftermath of the Mexican Revolution.
I
which
started
is just,
reading it already.
All right. Which is, terrible.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, everybody's aftermath of the revolution is
They're always
terrible.
bad. They're always bad.
Except for ours.
Yeah, except,
I
yep.
said, well, let's explore this idea.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll look at some other revolutions, the revolutions that followed over the next 150 years or
Yeah.
so, and then come back and say,
Right.
what did we do right?
Yeah. All right. Sounds like a good idea. So this is a Czech style. When you go, you buy a Budweiser, it says Pilsner style, right? Well, this one is brewed right down the road in Montgomery County, and it's a Czech style lager.
Okay.
So what are you expecting? Like the classic Czech lager is Pilsner Urquell.
Right.
Yeah.
And that
Kind of sets the standard.
that sets the standard, and it really changed beer drinking from ales to
Yeah.
lagers.
Yes.
This was the one that just swept the continent.
Yeah. Czech
for this
Pilsners.
style.
Yeah.
And
So what do we got here?
well, it looks like it should, like a Budweiser. Really.
Yeah, it's the right color. So what do you got for
little more-
aroma?
A little more aroma than a Budweiser.
Yeah, but no, I don't think as much as it's been a bit since I've had a Pilsner or Urquell, but I don't think.
Okay. Very nice.
All right, it's got that. There's a slightly funky flavor to the Czech noble hops.
Okay,
Just-
a delicate balance of gold malt and spicy hops define this eminently drinkable lager, so they say.
Yeah, I like it. It's very good. Typically we drink all kinds of beers on this show. And
Yeah.
we drink strong ales, we drink brown ales, we drink double box, we drink every kind of thing. Every once in a while, it's just nice to go back to a regular sort of a beer.
Yeah, that's not. I have stored for us for a later date an apricot flavored beer.
There you go.
So
Okay, right,
we
yeah.
don't- every beer doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to have bubble gum in it or anything. Sometimes it's just nice to have a beer, and this is a very good representation of this style,
Yeah.
I think.
And
Yeah.
if you're just a Bud Miller Coors guy and you're going, I don't know, these people seem to be making a lot of fuss about other beers out there. Mm-hmm. Well, this would be your style.
Yeah, give it
but
a try.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit
fancier,
more on the crafty side. Yeah,
a little craftier.
very very good. All right, we should go visit these guys. They're not very far away.
Not far at all. And
Yeah.
they won the Great American Beer Festival.
Yeah, American Beer Festival 2025 Gold for
Okay.
Czech style pale lager.
Good for them.
Excellent. All right, so revolutions. You know what it reminds me of when I think about a revolution. You think, okay, we're going to throw off restraint, but then we're going to impose restraint, and somehow that's going to work. What that reminds me of is like somebody cheats on their marriage with somebody else, then marries that person and expects it to work out. It's the same kind of concept.
You knew what she was like.
Yeah, you knew she was a cheater. Yeah, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's just go in order, right? So where American Revolution is 1776 to 1784, something like that. So right on our heels comes the French Revolution.
Yeah.
So 1789 to 1799. These are the rough numbers.
Yeah.
And I mean,
What do you think of when you think of the French Revolution?
Well, we had the playbook.
Yeah.
It just happened 5 minutes ago.
Right.
This is how you
This is how you do it. Right.
And I think of the guillotine.
Right. You think of the guillotine, you think of purges, you think of going out and finding people you disagree with and slaughtering them.
Great Terror.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of
Totally
storming
chaotic.
the Bastille, letting criminals out. And then 1789, the Declaration of the Rights of Men of the Citizens. So they're kind of saying, we're not having this, we're getting rid of the aristocracy because all men are created equal. They got that from somebody, somewhere.
Yeah.
And then that was 1793 to 94 is the Reign of Terror.
Yeah.
And that was followed by the Great Reign of Terror, in which they killed all the people who started the revolution because they weren't revolutionary enough.
Yes. And they're also just trying to completely remake mankind. They go from a 7-day week to a 10-day week. So that was like so that nobody could remember which day was Sunday or something.
Exactly
Crazy.
What that was. So we're talking about 40 to 50,000 deaths from revolutionary executions, prison deaths, and mass killings, plus another 100 to 300,000 from civil war and counter-revolutionary repression. So just executions alone, maybe in the 20,000.
Wow.
And then. But the whole thing, who knows what the numbers are, but between 100 and 400,000 people dying.
And also, it didn't result in anything stable afterwards. France was just a catastrophe for like 100 years after that.
I mean, all you got was, you got Napoleon, which is very interesting because he declares himself emperor, but, there's no aristocracy around. The Bourbons aren't there, so
killed them all.
The question is it a restoration of nobility, or is it a continuation of the revolution? Historians fight about that all day, every day.
Okay,
and so then you had the restoration, 1814 to 1830. That they bring the Bourbons back. Then they have another revolution replaced with a different aristocracy. It's not till 1848 that they finally have a full-blown revolution where, the aristocracy is out of the picture. And so it was just messy, long, bloody. They couldn't kill people fast enough, so they invented a head-chopping machine, streets running with blood. It's like, what do you...
Wasn't the guillotine only for like high-class people?
Well, yes. The thing is hanging is for losers. Yeah. Beheading is for the aristocracy, but there's only so many executioners. Yeah. Quality executioners.
Yeah, I know. You have to get somebody who's strong enough to wield that axe.
Yeah, you just can't have somebody in there hacking away.
I know, yeah.
That's the whole point of the dignity of the death is that they're not hitting your shoulder blade and back of the head or whatever.
Or taking 2 swipes.
So they invented a very clean machine, which was used up until like the 70s in France. Yeah. Okay, so that's France. Now, Haiti is watching all of this happen. Yes. And they're saying the Enlightenment principles, and they're going. So
how about us?
90%. It's 90% slave. Right. It is the wealthiest part of France. Mm-hmm. There's a handful of white owners, plantation owners. Right. There's a handful. So there's like what they call the big whites and the little whites. Mm-hmm. And the little whites are white people, but they just have like regular managerial jobs and they're cobblers and there's a functioning city there. Yeah. And then there's because these white guys didn't bring their women with them. Now we have a couple generations of mixed race, free people, free blacks. So they're seeing what's going on. The aristocracy is looking at America and going, wait a minute, why don't we just separate from France altogether and we'll just be a French state all of our own. The coloreds are going, this universal right thing sounds better because we want the same rights as the whites have. And then the 90% slaves are going, we just want to be free, for crying out loud. Right, yeah. So, but it was really, when you talk about revolution, you have like a power struggle. This is more like a slave revolt. Yeah. It's not...
Yeah, the idea was to end slavery and colonial rule. So, yeah. And, different.
And, but of course, there was just slaughter. Machete slaughter. Let me see if I've got the generally dated 1791 to 1804. Then I have then you have from 1804 until yesterday,
Yeah.
nothing but brutal instability.
Right.
I've got 111 changes of head of state. There's some of them here that are there's 3 in 1 year. They're all considered dictatorship, military influence presidency, military/authoritarian.
The place is a disaster and always has been.
And in 1915, there was until 1934, the U.S. was like, stop it.
Yeah.
They went down to trying to stabilize this place.
Do you remember the old joke? What's the worst thing about getting AIDS?
No.
Convincing your mom you're Haitian.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, the place has been a disaster for quite a long time.
Right from the start. So now that Toussaint, this mulatto intellectual, educated in France,
Right?
Fully aware of the ideas of the French in there, and he's thinking, yeah, we just want to be just like France, except without the slavery, pretty much. Thank you very much, and without any allegiance to France.
Right.
And so in the first, so it's like the first Black Republic, the first successful bunny ears
Right.
Slave revolt, and it started out with they split the island in half, and in the north we had Henri Christophe as a monarch with centralized authoritarian rule, and then the south we had Alexander whoever led a republic with powerful favoring small landowners. So
the Haitian slave revolt actually made a lot of Americans very nervous because they
imagine.
They were like, okay, is that going to happen here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or probably, there are probably a lot of places, because this is all before, this is at the time, Wilberforce is trying to
Right. Yeah.
end worldwide slavery, and they kind of thought, even with these massive numbers, it wasn't just that they thought that their brutal tactics, which, would be enough to keep them in line, they literally thought they were incapable. Like, had such low opinion of the ability of Africans to mount an actual insurrection that they weren't concerned that they were outnumbered 10-1.
Yeah. Yeah, they're too dumb to do anything.
They're
Like
too
this.
dumb to do anything.
Yeah, right.
Well, I don't know if they're too dumb to have a functioning country, but it certainly isn't working out for them. In fact, wait, hold on. What is the last? So this is a whole list of from 22 to 26. This is the most recent one. So now we've 220 years away. Acting or de facto leadership and gang-dominated control, de facto fragmented rule, significant territory controlled by armed gangs, weakening central authority. It doesn't even name a prime minister or a president for the last 4 years.
Yeah. The place is a basket case.
So that didn't work out so good.
All right, so how about the Russian Revolution?
Okay, here we are. Where are we now?
Well, 1917. So the Russian Revolution was the weirdest thing about the Russian Revolution was that Marx didn't think it would happen in Russia. He thought the communist revolution would happen in England.
The whole thing was that it was all based on the proletariat, and it was definitely coming from an industrial nation.
Right, and it doesn't happen in an industrial nation. It happens in this agricultural nation.
Russia certainly is not that.
That's not, yeah. Now, there were a lot of things different about the Russian Revolution because you have aristocracy and then you have extreme poverty. And the poor people rose up. They killed as much of the nobility as they could get their hands on. It was extremely radical, but it was radical in a different way in that they kind of like with the French, where the French wanted to create a new man, a new society, the Russians or the communists were definitely that way. They wanted to create the new Soviet man. They wanted to absolutely transform everything. And of course, there were purges, and there was tons of violence, and there was a lot of killing.
Right, because then you had the White Army against the Red Army, right?
Yeah, and even after victory, just like with France, there was a lot of back and forth and retribution and killing large numbers of people. And the whole premise of the thing was, okay, we're gonna this is the lie about communism, right? We're going to knock down the people in charge and it's going to become a people's paradise. But what actually happens is you knock down the people in charge, and then the people in the revolution become the new people in charge, and then they're the ones who are going around oppressing everybody and killing their opponents and taking vengeance. So this was what happened in the end. Is you get a communist dictatorship. So were people better off afterwards than they were under the czars? I don't know. I mean,
well, I mean, not the millions, tens of millions that starved to death and died in gulags.
Right. So what they were trying to do is they were trying to get rid of property ownership. There was a lot of, you find the people who are successful, who have a lot of property, and you kill those guys. Yeah. And then you give that property to other people who have never been successful, and you expect somehow that you're going to get some benefit out of it. It doesn't work out because the people were successful because they were good at it. And the people who took the land afterwards were not. So you're creating, you're cutting off your own supply of food. They wanted to overturn religion, which was a big thing in Russia. Education became education towards creating this new communist ideal of a man. Family relationships got disturbed. So you have a very radical attempting a very radical transformation where you're getting rid of the existing authority, you're replacing it with something radically new and different, and it just doesn't work out. You just end up killing a lot of people.
A lot of people.
Yes.
And there were a lot of people under Lenin who just felt that they had to be killed. And then then Stalin comes in. He's like,
you haven't killed enough.
You're not doing enough. Yeah.
you're not doing it right.
One man is a tragedy, right?
Right.
A million is a statistic.
That's right. Yeah, and then we're going to do Mexico next, right?
All right, so Mexico, this is 1910, 1920. The thing that got me started with the whole idea was the aftermath. So I don't know about. So both Haiti wasn't that Christian anyway. It was mostly voodoo. Voodoo was a blend of voodoo and
Catholicism and other kinds of stuff. Very weird.
But France was openly anti-church.
Yeah.
The idea being, once you take out the systems of power, in this sort of postmodernist view of how things work, that involves the church. Well, Mexico had the same idea, and so the 1917 Constitution included anti-clerical articles restricting church property, banning clergy from political activity, limiting religious education. Then it got worse and worse from president to president. So the 1926 to 1929, you had the Cristero War, which was a violent Catholic uprising.
Yeah.
Because you had this anti-clerical. It's the pendulum swinging too far situation. It's a heavily Catholic country. Yes, the systems of the church were aligned with the authoritarian government.
Right.
That's true, but you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater here, and
that's actually a common element in all these revolutions.
Yes.
French, Haitian, Mexican, Russian, Chinese, Cuban, all of them wanted to get rid of religion.
So by this is after the revolution itself. Commonly cited figures 70 to 90,000 people, just in the Cristero part, which was only a small portion. But then there was also the nationalization of industries. You had oil in 1938. You had utilities, banking. All of these were government run, and so President Salinas, that's when I paid attention, when I went to Mexico, when I met my wife. Salinas was there, and he was the one that privatized basically everything but Pemex, but the oil. So then the airlines, the banks, all of that, and Mexico's been doing better ever since.
Yeah.
Surprise that the state doesn't run all the major industries better than private industry.
Yeah. Yeah, so I get all the commies. I get Russians, Chinese, and the Cubans. And in the common thread, a lot of them. One of the common threads is They're trying to fundamentally transform what man is like. Another common thread is they want to, this is common for all these revolutions, they want to get rid of the influence of religion.
Yeah.
Another common thread is they want to get rid of private property.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that are common among the commies, but with China, you had this worship of Mao. And remember we did a show on Mao, the Cultural Revolution. These guys were nuts. I mean, they were concerned about, like, for some reason Mao hated sparrows, right?
Yeah.
So everybody in China was supposed to go out and kill their quotient of sparrows. And they killed all these sparrows, and then what they found out was that the sparrows were eating the bugs that were...
Right. But all they were concerned about was that they were eating the seeds when they were trying to plant, not really realizing...
that they were also eating the bugs. So what happened was they killed all these sparrows, and now they had, like, plague all over. So in all these situations, well, especially with the Russians and the Chinese, you took things that functioned and worked and made important stuff like bread, and you destroyed them so that you ended up having famine as a result of your so-called reforms to try to make things better.
But they were committed to eliminating all the olds.
Yes, exactly.
All the old way of thinking.
Get rid of the old way of thinking and turn the kids against their parents.
Which included literally. Can you imagine? Being an obedient student for 6 months of your teacher, and then the Cultural Revolution comes through, and you and your classmates beat to death
out with the old. Yes.
Struggle sessions.
And they also, in China, they had long periods with no education whatsoever. So you had a whole generation growing up that knew nothing except this sort of
Mao's little red book.
Loyalty to the cause. And it was horribly bloody. I mean, the rest of these guys are pikers when it comes to killing people. The Russians and the Chinese killed millions and millions of people. I mean, it was just, they had a lot of people there anyway in China. But so the Chinese Revolution is just extraordinarily brutal and extraordinarily corrupt. They corrupted all the...
And just like the Russians, whoever they didn't kill intentionally starved to death due to bad government planning.
That's right. Yeah, because the whole idea was to say we're going to have centralized planning.
You're right. So you farmers are not going to be the beneficiaries of your, your hard work.
Yeah.
The state is. So it doesn't matter how hard you work, how you don't. You're going to get the same portion. And guess what? Farms failed.
Right. So the Russians, the Chinese, the Cubans, there are a lot of common elements between them in terms of trying to create a communist state, trying to have a new man. The Cuban Revolution is not anywhere near as brutal, but it's still pretty brutal.
But it still follows the same pattern. They
just
didn't manage to kill as many.
No, they didn't kill quite as many people. But the idea was, so Castro's sitting around and he's thinking, here are these Anglos down here with their high rises, and they're somehow taking advantage of us, and the people need to rise up. And so look at the wonderful paradise that they've created.
Zero-sum idea that the reason I'm poor is because somebody else is rich, and so we need and which is what you find in Ivy League colleges today. So somehow people haven't learned anything. But,
that's right.
Yes, so we have to take what's theirs, redistribute it, and then that money just is gone, and now we're all wondering where's the food and who's going to build stuff.
Yeah, and Cuba has been an economic wreck ever since. To this day, they can't. What are they still driving, like 1950s cars because they don't have
cars down there.
I know that'd be nice if you're like into old Chevys or something.
But it's not for nostalgia's sake.
No, it's because they don't have anything else to do. And now that they're not getting payments from Venezuela because of Trump's action against Venezuela, the question is, how long is Cuba gonna survive? But so these commie revolutions, all together with French. I mean, the Mexicans and the Haitians weren't quite the same, but the French, the Russian, the Chinese, and the Cubans all were trying to create a new man.
Yes.
They were trying to radically transform society. They were saying, we're not only going to get rid of the guys on top, but we're just going to change the whole dynamic of how people operate and work with one another.
And you know who didn't do that?
Yes.
the Americans.
Yes.
And we showed you how this works.
I know.
Why you guys suck at it?
Yeah. So the United States, what was fundamentally different is that we weren't trying to create something new.
No.
The American colonists were saying, look, we're British citizens.
And we already understand, since the Magna Carta, what rights that good British citizens ought to have, and we just feel like
you're not giving us those rights.
King George is too far away, and he's imposing stuff on us that we don't have anything to say about.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we're not looking for people to murder. We're not looking for anybody to chop their heads off. We're not trying to remake society.
Yeah.
How about the CEO analogy?
I'm not sure what you mean.
That the French Revolution, their idea was to murder the CEO and the middle managers,
right,
and take the employee handbook and the guys who know how to build the thing, and throw them all out.
And then somehow the company's still going to keep
we're going to replace it
with
new, fresh faces, while the Americans were just like, we're just going to replace the CEO, and we're going to keep everybody else.
So think about what they already had. For hundreds of years, they had already had self-government. They already had local magistrates. They already had town councils. They already had voting. Tax system, money. They had all these things going on in the colonies, and they didn't overturn any of that stuff. They said, look, we're not trying to change that. All we're trying to change is King George can't impose taxes on us without our consent.
Yeah, we don't want foreign British standing armies.
Yeah.
Pointing their guns in our faces.
So it was a very conservative revolution. All these other guys, the French are trying to, change how many days there are in a week, for heaven's sakes. They're trying to kill we didn't want to kill the aristocracy. We just wanted them not to be telling us what to do.
Yeah.
And in all these other cases, they're trying to not just change a form of government, but change the entire social structure and the way people relate to one another.
Which is a fundamental just misunderstanding of how human beings are.
Mm-hmm.
And our founding fathers, the James Madisons, the guys, they understood a fundamentally flawed man.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to find the system that can manage that flaw. Where all these other morons are like, no. You rip it down to the core, and this is the language from the campuses today.
Right. Yes.
Burn it all down and start fresh. And we're at year zero,
and that never works.
It's never ever worked.
Yes.
But the only place that these ideas are still kept alive is where supposedly doing bunny ears again, smartest people in the country are still free to say the dumbest things. Yeah. And that's the thing. All of these people, how is it that you have like the most educated and highest IQ glomming on to the dumbest idea for generation after generation?
And that's one way in which we are so blessed with our founding fathers, is that these are guys who knew classical literature. They knew
political philosophy. These guys knew it.
They were incredibly smart guys.
The Roman Empire.
Yes, and they knew the limits of government, and they were afraid of government. See, that's another big difference between the Americans. Is the American revolutionaries were saying, we don't trust government. We don't want it to have power. All these other ones are like, let's kill the current guys in power and put in some more powerful thing.
So, right, because the Bill of Rights is not a list of rights granted to you by the government. It's the opposite. Mm-hmm. These are the rights we already have that we don't think the government should infringe upon.
Yes.
And that's a totally different idea than, that the government will decide what rights people have. Well, that's a terrible road to go down.
Yes.
That's what all of them have done.
That's what all of them have done. And our founding fathers understood, they studied the Roman Republic. They studied other things about, revolutions, and not revolutions, but various things through history and how authority was corrupted. And they said, we're going to put things in place to prevent governments from getting too powerful. we're going to have checks and balances, and we're going to have
We don't
differentiated
trust
power.
any of you.
We don't trust you, and not
because
only,
you're not this one generation, because you're a flawed human being.
because everybody is that way.
Yes.
This is not just unique to King George. This is any kind of power is going to corrupt, and that's why you need to keep a lid on power.
Yes, you're right. That's why this is not written for our generation.
Yeah.
There's the next guy coming along, the next bunch of next HOA committee.
That's right.
They're
So-
all to be suspect.
Now, there's also a few things about the American Revolution that were just happenstance that made it more successful. Like, for example, our geography.
Definitely.
So we didn't have. Well, I mean, we did have to worry. It sounds crazy to say this now, but we did have to worry about Canada.
And
Okay.
we just went through the French and Indian War.
Yes.
The French were to the west.
Yes.
But we didn't need a massive standing army to fend off, especially to fend off, the British that are on our border. Well,
Yes.
they're not on our border. They did come back in 1812, but they had a long way to go.
Yes. Yeah. So having the ocean was a big benefit. The other thing that's remarkably different about the American Revolution is what happened afterwards. Like when the American Revolution was over, we didn't go around having purges.
Well, yes, so you can imagine at the time, and I don't have any numbers or stats on this, but there had to be a lot of people who were like, I don't know about this. Do we really have to do? I mean, Ben Franklin was there until about 3 years before, until 1772. So a lot of people are going, I'm not sure that this is the best idea. And and everybody kind of liked being a British subject.
Yeah.
Everybody thought the British Empire was fantastic.
Yeah.
And they loved King George and all. And so there got to be a lot of people, even if they didn't aid the British troops in any material way, were probably
Loyalists to some extent.
would call themselves loyalists if you ask them. So, was there widespread slaughter of all of these loyalists afterwards?
No, remarkably little.
No.
And there's very little of that sort of thing going on. And maybe one of the reasons for that was that another thing that distinguishes the American Revolution from all the other revolutions is the role of religion, where the colonies were all strong. I mean, every colony had its different religion.
Right.
All Christian, but they were all, Pennsylvania was Quaker, and you had all these different religious ideas going on. But it provided kind of a moral foundation of what's acceptable behavior.
Yeah.
And going around and just slaughtering people because they disagreed with you didn't fit with that. Where all these other people were completely unconstrained. They didn't have that sort of restraint on them, and they just said, we're on top now. Let's get our enemies.
Yeah,
Let's find the people who had opposed us and slaughter
them. They didn't even try to reform them and get them, on the right side of history in their minds.
Right.
No, let's just kill them.
Have I told you about Slavoj Žižek? I think we've talked about this once before.
Yeah,
Slavoj Žižek is this Eastern European political philosopher.
Communist apologist.
Yes, communist apologist.
Yeah.
And he straightforwardly admits that when the communist revolution happens, which is the one that he wants to happen in America, that you'll take the so-called bad guys up against the wall and shoot them.
Yep. And
my big question to somebody like that is, why shouldn't we just jail you right now for talking that way?
Yeah.
Why should we put up with that? That is what happened in the French, Haitian, Mexican, Russian, Chinese, Cuban. That's what happened. They found the people who were opposed. They lined them up against the wall and they shot them. And we didn't do that.
Now, what about having the head of the military who won the revolution? Why doesn't he become the military dictator / king of America?
Because the American founding fathers studied history and they respected this guy named Cincinnatus, who said he went out, won the war, and then said, I'm going back to my plow.
Yeah. Yeah, he could have stayed on and become the
king. Sure.
The king of
and King George said, if he doesn't become king, he'll be the greatest man who ever lived.
Right.
And maybe he was.
And so he said, no, I'm going back to my plow.
Right.
And in a sense, the fact that the greatest qualifying feature of a man to become the first president is the man who doesn't want to be the first president.
Right.
They're like, that makes you our guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If he was if he was Adam Schiff, you know what I mean, hungry for power,
That's
and
right.
couldn't wait
scratching and clawing to try to get his way to the
exactly
top.
right.
Yeah.
Like that would be the way to look back and go, let's see who wants to be president most. It ain't
Take him off the list. Yeah.
Yes, take him off the list.
But that also comes back to this question of limited government versus concentrated, powerful government.
Yeah.
Like the idea of the central plan, that you're going to run the entire economy because, you know, 3 guys sitting in a committee are going to decide that. And that is so foreign to the American. There was none of that. There was no idea that after the American Revolution, we're now going to say, okay, Georgia has to do this and North Carolina. No, it was everybody run your own lives, and we're going to have as little effect on you as possible.
You said it was a fairly very socially conservative.
Yeah.
And we consider all of these other guys highly radical.
Yes.
The radicalness of the American Revolution is the idea that maximum freedom will not result in anarchy.
Yes.
That we're going to, you know what? I think this is the first time somebody said, I think people will actually behave if you give them freedom, give them land, let them pursue their interests, let them pursue their happiness.
And this,
it's funny to think of that as a radical idea, but at the time they were like, people won't be in. You know, they still think like this in the Middle East. You know,
Yeah.
People won't behave unless there's a powerful, strong man keeping everybody in line.
But I think there's a difference here. Like so. Major Crowhill will tell you that it's still that way in the Middle East because it's actually true. That those people
no, it is true.
They won't behave unless you have somebody keeping them in line. And that comes back to the question of being self-governing, where in America there was a strong underlying religious ethic where people were self-governing. Whether there was a king over them or not, they knew it was wrong to steal and they were going to behave according to certain rules because they believed in that sort of thing. And when you have a self-governing people, you don't have to have so much of a government governing.
Is it Madison says, you know, that this system Adams, this only works with the moral people.
Only works with the moral people. That's right. And that was a benefit that we had.
And then what was the other quote is, all right, so what kind of country do we have? It's a republic.
Yes.
If you can keep it.
If you can keep it.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So all these things, you know, we were just extraordinarily fortunate to have.
We came at the right time, particularly with the right men.
Yes.
There were certain circumstances, but I'm still going back to the men. A little bit of geography, sure.
Yes. Yeah.
But all in all, you know.
It was a very conservative revolution. It wasn't trying to do too much. It wasn't trying to change the nature of man. It wasn't trying to reorder the days of the week. It wasn't, you know, it was just saying, okay, we don't want our tea to be taxed, and we don't want the king 1,000 miles away telling us how to run things over here.
And all these other revolutions, right up to now, right up to the No King's protest,
Yes.
are missing the mark.
Yes.
Totally. How about take your examples from the one revolution that worked?
Yes.
As opposed to looking back and going, with a few tweaks, we could make the
communism would work if you just did it right.
Yeah,
okay.
no bet.
Okay, here we got 3 strong tries: Russia, Chinese, Cuba. Which one of those worked? You know?
Yeah, which one of those do you want to live on? Yeah, but they didn't do it quite the way that Zorhan Modami would do it. Okay, well,
we are incredibly blessed.
This is part of our American 250 summer,
yes.
And we're going to be celebrating this fine country.
The amazing stuff about America, and just the fact that our revolution is the greatest revolution is
yes,
that's something to celebrate.
Yes, watch and learn.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks so much for listening. Be sure to like this video and share it with your friends.
Blue suit in the sunshine.